It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Beautiful night here in the ballpark, and the final game of a 3-game series with San Diego. They have split the previous 8, and the Dodgers trying to return the favor. Back in April, you may or may not remember, the Padres came here and swept the Dodgers, so tonight the Dodgers trying to sweep San Diego. Should the Dodgers win tonight, they will then get out of the cellar and climb over the Padres. They'll be going to Colorado for a 4-game series, and the Dodgers will await the arrival of Atlanta for 4, followed by 3 with Arizona. For the pitching, it'll be Clayton Kershaw on the mound for the Dodgers. Clayton is 5-3 with the league. He is 8-4 lifetime against San Diego. And on the mound for the Padres, the veteran right-hander Jason Marquis, 6-2 with the league, 7-4 lifetime against the Dodgers. So we'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. Southern California Hyundai dealers. Come in and test drive the sleek, stylish Sonata today. By AT&T UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. And by Jack in the Box. The Chipotle Chicken Club combo is back for a limited time.
In the land of make-believe, Dodger fans are hoping that the dream start of Yasiel Puig continues for at least one more day. Big League Puig, Puigapalooza, the notorious P-U-I-G. The guy's been here 72 hours. He's got 5 nicknames already. Jim Watson, Steve Lyons in center field. What are we calling right field now?
The Bay of Puigs.
All right, the guy's hitting .625. Last night, 2 home runs, a double. He had 5 RBIs inside of 20 minutes in real time. How long can the kid from Cuba keep it up?
He can keep it up a lot because he's so athletically gifted. I mean, he was the right man at the right time for this ball club. Let's face it, they were a little bit desperate. They needed something to happen. They needed some excitement. This guy is pure adrenaline in a pair of baseball cleats. Just open him up and let him fly all over the place. I love the fact that they're leading him off right now. I think eventually he's a middle-of-the-order hitter. But he's not the only guy.
Yeah, our Hyundai keys to the game. What about Scott Van Slyke? He's got 5 home runs. He hit one on Monday. Tim Fedorovich went yard yesterday. He's starting to settle in while A.J. Ellis is on the DL.
Both of those guys big threats with the bat. Fedorovich is supposed to be a defensive catcher, but he was tearing up AAA. Now he's got 2 home runs here, too.
They're all in the lineup. Clayton Kershaw is on the mound. Yasiel Puig. Is he Bo Jackson? Is he Raul Mondesi? Is he Mike Trout? Is he Rambo? He's all ours. Dodgers and the Padres as LA goes for the sweep.
Welcome to Dodger Stadium. Pull up a chair for the Padres and the Dodgers in their concluding game of the 3-game series. Bud Black trying to avoid a sweep, having been ejected from the game in the 9th inning last night. And Bud's lineup pretty much the same as it has been throughout the series. And that means it starts off with Chris Denorfia in center field. Everett Cabrera at short, Chase Headley at third, Carlos Quentin in left field hitting cleanup. Jed Jerko will be at second base, Kyle Blanks in right field, Jesus Guzman at first base, Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, and Jason Marquis on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, it's Clayton Kershaw with a record of 5-3. He is 8-4 lifetime against the Padres, but he is 0-1 against them this year. And right away, he will face a challenge, and that will be by the leadoff man, Chris Denorfia. There are only 8 players who can say they've homered against Clayton Kershaw more than once, and Denorfia is one of the 8. He's homered twice against Kershaw. He's also hitting .331 this year against left-hand pitching. So Denorfia checks in, Kershaw into the windup, and here we go. First ball grounded to short. Ramirez up with it, fires for first. One pitch, and that takes care of Denorfia. Take a look at the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way. Gonzalez and Schumacher, Ramirez and Uribe, Van Slyke, Napier and Puig, Fedorovich behind the plate, Clayton Kershaw on the mound. So one away here in the first inning. DeNorfia summing up one of the things that the Padres do very well, and that is go after the first pitch. They're number one of all the teams in the National League. The first pitch, however, to Cabrera is inside, ball one, 1-0. So DeNorfia, a good solid leadoff man, who once upon a time was a pretty good out. He hit 144 against the Dodgers, but this year he's hitting 393 against them. Meanwhile, Cabrera up there, 1 ball and 1 strike. You want to keep him off the base paths. Cabrera leads the majors in stolen bases with 24. Swings, fouls it away, and the count 1-2. Talking about stolen bases, that's another thing the Padres do well. They lead the major leagues. They have 48 stolen bases, and they have stolen 20 in the last 20 games. So Bud Black getting the most out of his offense. They are aggressive. They have a lot of stolen bases. They have 7 bunt singles, and they score with 2 out. So Cabrera, switch hitter, batting right-handed. The outfield fanned out straight away. Kershaw, both feet on the rubber, looks down as Cabrera backs out. So Everett with 1 out, bases empty. A struggling Chase Headley on deck. Kershaw into the windup, and the 1-2 pitch is way outside, ball 2. Beautiful time of day, about 12 minutes after 7, and the temperature 69 degrees. Barely a breeze riffling the flags in center field, and the 2-2 pitch on the way. Instead, Kershaw thinks better of it, stops, gets back on the rubber, and looks into Fedorovich. Now Kershaw ready. 2-2 pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes Cabrera. Hard breaking ball for strikeout number 1. For Kershaw, picking up a strikeout with a second hitter. He now has struck out 83 while walking 23. And remember, he came into the game with an earned run average of 1.8. So here is a struggling Chase Headley. And Kershaw into the windup and delivers and misses inside. Headley came here 0 for 16, and he's 1 for 9. So put it together, 1 for his last 25. The 1-0 pitch is swung on and missed. It's remarkable, but it shows you just how tough it is to play in the major leagues. When you're as talented as Chase Headley, when you're coming off a huge year last year, and now you can see 1 for 25. He hits a line drive, fair ball down the left field line, over the Devils Van Slyke, and after a big turn, holding at first is Chase Headley. He's just too good a player to languish down there 1 for 25. So a 2-out single to left field, and the boos in the background reflect the presence of Carlos Quentin coming up. So a long single by Chase Headley. Quentin last night had a good night with the bat. He had 2 singles and a home run. Checking in, hitting .244 with a half a dozen home runs, 18 RBIs. So the boy from Bellflower, who went to school at Stanford, right-hand hitter, hangs over the plate. Kershaw's fastball is foul back, and the count 0-1. In looking at Kershaw versus Quentin, Carlos Quentin is hitting .375 against him. That would be 3 for 8. So Quentin, a good hitter. Right-hand batter waiting. At first, Headley has a look and gets back to the bag. Headley is 1 for 2 in stolen bases. Kershaw, out of that exaggerated stretch, now comes to the plate on the hands with a fastball foul back. And that fastball was clocked at 100. I don't remember if I ever saw Kershaw hit 100 on the gun, but according to the scoreboard, they put up 100. Let's put it this way, it looked like 100. It was a fastball in on the hands. Quentin couldn't get around on it and fouled it back. So 0-2 the count. Clayton ready, sets up around the letters, throws to first. Headley back on the bag. Leading the majors, everybody runs with the Padres. Kershaw trying to make it 9-4 lifetime against San Diego. Clayton out of a stretch. Another look over at Headley. And the strike 2 pitch coming up at Quentin. Swung on, had to lift it in the air right near second base. Schumacher is there, and that'll be that. No runs to hit, a man left, and at the end of half an inning, Padres nothing, Dodgers coming up. Havana, Cuba has arrived. It is gone. He has hit another one. Que viva Cuba. Viva Puig. And so here he comes, the man of the moment, Yasiel Puig. After 2 huge games in the big leagues, game number 3. Looks like he draws, well, I'm not sure, it's not a cross, but he does do that every time he comes up. So one of these nights we'll zero in on the ground and see just what he does. Yasiel Puig hitting .625, 5 for 8 in the 2 games. Jason Marquis delivers fastball inside, 1 ball and no strikes. Of all the things about Puig that to me are the most impressive, he has taken 11 swings. He's had 1 foul ball and only missed 2 pitches. And he's just missed 1 now, and they count 1-1. He put 8 balls in play, 5 of which were base hits. So Puig starting it off against Marquis, followed by Schumacher and then Gonzalez. Jason comes back, and there's a chopper wide of third, gobbled nicely by Headley to throw him out. Chase Headley short hopping the ball and making the play. And 1 away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers lineup. Puig is followed by Schumacher at second base, Gonzalez at first, and Ramirez at short. Ethier in center, Van Slyke in left, Uribe at third, Fedorovich behind the plate, and Kershaw on the mound. Jason Marquis, among other things, he's been saved from 3 losses. The ball club coming back and saving a loss. His pitch to Schumacher swung on, fouled away, 0-1. Schumacher hitting .262 with 10 RBIs. Got a base hit last night, so he's hit safely in 11 straight. Marquis ready. The right-hander comes back, and this time it's low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Couple of things about Marquis. The Padres have won 7 of his 11 starts. He's had 8 double plays back of him, but he has allowed 11 home runs, 6 of them at Petco Park. The pitch to Schumacher, and we'll check, it's 2-1, but the plate umpire saying no, turn it around. So 1 ball and 2 strikes they count with Adrian Gonzalez on deck. So 1-2, and the pitch is low, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. What else can we tell you about Jason? Well, he's allowed 5 home runs to right-hand hitters. He's allowed 4 when the score is tied. He usually gives up his home runs from the first to the 6th inning. He's given up all 11 in the first 75 pitches of his games. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Schumacher, a roller to the right side. Jerko is up with it easily to make the play. 2 ground balls, and we have 2 out in the first inning. We'll take a look at the Padres defensively. Guzman, Jerko, Cabrera, and Headley. Quentin, DeNorfia, and Blanks in the outfield. Grandal behind the plate, and Jason Marquis on the mound. Adrian Gonzalez checks in. We were talking about the Padres being a first ball hitting team. Among other things, Jason Marquis has given up 4 home runs to hitters on the first pitch. So Jason, the veteran, making his 17th start against the Dodgers. Gonzalez after the first pitch and fouls it away, and the count 0-1. So Adrian, as usual, putting up good numbers. 8 home runs to lead the ball club. 42 runs batted in. Marquis pitching from a stretch. Right-handed deals down and away. Jason will be 35 in August. He's from Manhasset, New York, lives in Staten Island. In fact, if I remember, from his home you can look over and once upon a time see the Twin Towers. He was a first-round pick by the Braves, and he misses low and away, and the count goes 2-1. Interesting, too, the fact that he's given up 11 home runs, and yet he is primarily a ground ball pitcher. First 2 outs were ground balls. Here's the 2-1 pitch to Adrian Gonzalez. Ground foul outside of first down the line, and the count 2-2. So Jason Marquis trying to salvage 1. Dodgers trying for the sweep. Marquis, interestingly enough, has 2 double-digit strikeout games in a 14-year career, and they're almost 11 years apart. Here's the 2-2 pitch, swung on, slow roller towards Jerko. A lot of time with Gonzalez. So 3 ground balls. Marquis lives up to that, and the Dodgers go quietly. And at the end of an inning, Padres nothing, Dodgers nothing. Now facing Jerko, Blanks, and Guzman in that order. Jerko, first ball swinging, lifts one to right field. Puig is there waiting, makes a 2-hand catch, and we have 1 pitch, 1 away. Looking at the top pitchers in ERA, Shelby Miller of the Cardinals a hair ahead of Kershaw. Then you have Patrick Corbin Now Corbin, with an earned run average of 2, has 9 wins and no losses. He's going to pitch against the Giants, and then we will see him Wednesday, probably against Hyun-Jin Ryu. 1 out, second inning, and here's Kyle Blanks. The big guy, right-hand batter, takes low and inside, ball 1. Blanks last night had a 2-run home run, a walk, an infield single. Big man hitting .277. Kershaw ready and comes back, and it's swung on and missed, and the count 1-1. Checking Clayton Kershaw, going up against Blanks. Blanks is 3 for 13, but he does have a home run. Kershaw's curve, slow curve. Blanks way out in front of it. That came up there at 72 miles an hour. So 1-2 the count to Big Kyle. 6'6" and about 280. The 1-2 pitch of the big man stays up. Just missed. 2-2. Kershaw kind of looks down at Tim Timmons, doesn't say anything. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 out, second inning, no score. Clayton ready. Here he comes 2-2. Big curveball, and that's going to go foul down the left field line. And it's still 2-2 to Kyle Blanks. Blanks made the start in right field last night. Scored 3 runs in the game. He was very busy. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Kershaw deals, strike 3 call. Fastball at 94 at the knees, and Kyle walks away empty-handed. Strikeout number 2 for Clayton. And with 2 out in the second inning, the batter will be Jesus Guzman. Blanks thought the pitch was low. He doesn't argue. He just walks away. The Padres not only split 8 against the Dodgers, but they've hit very well against Dodger pitching. First pitch foul back, 0-1. The Padres team batting average against the Dodgers this year, .317. So Black's had some hitting. He's also got some reasonably good pitching, and he has split the 8. Padres will leave after the game. They're heading for Colorado. They have a 4-game series. Dodgers will have 4 with the Braves here, and then finish up with Arizona. 1-1 the count to Jesus Guzman. Kershaw zeroing in on Fedorovich. Left-hander takes another look, and back he comes. Ground ball slowly to short. Picked on the run by Ramirez. His throw in the dirt. Gets away at first base. And down to second base will go Guzman. So Ramirez had a very tough play. It might be 1-1. He had to charge it on the dead run. Throw leaping in the air. And the bouncer went right by Adrian. And sure enough, that's how they're going to call it. 1-1. Base hit to short. And error short. So Ramirez gets a very tough test. The Padres have a runner at second with 2 out. And the big catcher, Yasmani Grandal, checking in at the plate. Grandal, remember, had a 50-game suspension, so he's just coming back. And Kershaw's pitch in the dirt. On deck, Jason Marquis. The Marquis getting ready in case there's 4 quick misses to Grandal. Kershaw looks back at Guzman. Now the left-hander deals and misses, and no, gets it on the inside corner, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Clayton 5-3 at Dodger Stadium against San Diego. Grandal waiting. Kershaw delivers. It's fouled off to the right out of play, and the count 1-2. Pretty good 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Yasmani Grandal 3 for 5 in the past against Kershaw. That's 600. So the right-hand hitting catcher waiting. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kershaw will look back at Guzman at second with 2 out. And the 1-2 pitch coming up. Curveball hit into right field. Base hit. Charging Puig drops the ball. Here comes the run to score. He might have had a play, but when he tried to glove it, it came out of the glove, and he was in a hurry to make the throw, and he couldn't do it. So for Yasiel Puig, missed opportunity to get Guzman, who is not that quick a runner, on a slow hanging curveball that was slapped into right field. If Guzman rounds third, he might have stopped, but when the ball came out of the glove, he just kept on going. So a single to right by Grandal, and it's the Padres on the board, leading 1-0. So the error by Ramirez, and then the loose play by Puig, and 1-0 San Diego. Big grin on Jesus Guzman's face. Marquis bats left-handed. Has 3 hits this year. Hitting about $150. The next pitch to Jason swung on and missed. And the count 0-2. 1-0 in favor of the Padres. Top of the second inning. Marquis waiting. 0-2 the count. Kershaw looks over at first. Short lead, but nevertheless, he's going to throw over there. Because one reason, if you see somebody with a very short lead with the pitcher out, you know he's not going to run. But why not throw over there anyway, just to remind him that you're ready to get him at any time. So Grandal barely off the bag. The pitch to Marquis is waved at and missed. Down he goes. 3 strikeouts for Kershaw, but he gives up a run on 2 hits and an error. And at the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Padres. '63 World Championship, hosting an old-timers game at 5:30 with former Dodger and Yankee greats. Be one of the first 40,000 fans. You'll receive a 1963 World Series replica ring. For information, visit Dodgers.com/oldtimers. I think of all the pitchers around, the pitch count with Jason Marquis is so important. Among other things, the first 25 pitches that Marquis makes. That's a dangerous area. The league is hitting .338 against him, including 7 home runs in the first 25 pitches. Well, he's already made 13. Misses inside to Hanley Ramirez. 1 ball and no strikes. So Jason, 6'1", 210, 35 in August. Right-hander pitches exclusively from a stretch. Snaps one low and inside. 2 balls and no strikes to Hanley. Ramirez off the DL, fed up and tired of being on the list. He has a home run, couple of ribbies. And the 2-0 pitch, he has a look and pays a strike. and the count 2-1. So Ramirez, Ethier, and Van Slyke. Marquis holds the ball at the belt, now just turns on the rubber. And the 2-1 pitch, Hanley looks at a strike to even it up. 2-2. Jason Marquis and Hanley. Ramirez hitting .348 against him with a home run. Andre Ethier hitting just 100, 3 for 30 against Marquis. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way to Hanley. Ramirez swung on and fouled off. Still 2-2. Ramirez taking a little casual walk around home plate before getting back up. Marquis, who was signed as a professional in 1996, came up to the Braves in 2000. So he's had a tremendous career. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on, line drive right at Headley. Boy, Ramirez has hit at least 3 bullets since coming back. 2 to the third baseman and 1 to the shortstop. Plus he hit a line drive that almost decapitated the pitcher. So he has lost 4 hits on balls that have been just blurs. And we have 1 out in the second inning. So the batter now is Andre Ethier, hitting .234. 4 home runs, 15 runs batted in. Just has not been able to get on track since the start of the year. Andre looks, and it's a strike, and the count 0-1. Waiting on deck, Scott Van Slyke. Padres lead 1-0, second inning. Marquis comes right back, and the fastball misses. 1-1 the count. Ethier trying to get something started against Marquis, who has retired 4 in a row. The 1-1 pitch, a comebacker under the glove of Marquis, picked up at short. The throw to first is in time. Nice play by Cabrera. I don't believe Marquis touched the ball, so we'll not give him an assist and Healy otherwise. They'll just make it a ground ball. So the comebacker went right under his glove. Yeah, maybe he ticked it, slowed it down, and it gave Cabrera a chance at the bag to nail Ethier on a throw in the dirt. 2 down, second inning, 1-0 San Diego, and the batter is Scott Van Slyke. Marquis looks in to get a sign from Grandal, and the pitch to Van Slyke is high. Scotty hitting .250, 5 home runs, 5 doubles, and a couple of singles. 10 runs batted in. The 1-0 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off. With Jason Marquis, you're going to get a 4-seamer, and he can get that thing up to around 95. Then he has a slider, curve, cut fastball, and a changeup. When he gets that sinker down, he can be tough, and he's already had 4 ground balls of the 5 outs. Van Slyke takes low, 2-1 to count. They are going to give Marquis an assist, big deal, but if you are keeping score, you know it's 1-6-3. So he did get his glove on it officially. The 2-1 pitch, Van Slyke way out in front, and the count 2-2. So Marquis dropping from 92 to 81, and Van Slyke way out in front. Juan Uribe waiting on deck. 2 out, second inning, 1-0 Padres. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Good, sinkered. And down goes Van Slyke. 6 in a row retired by Marquis. Has struck out 1. And at the end of 2, 1-0 San Diego. Top of the order, DeNorfia, Cabrera, and then Headley. 1 run, 3 hits for the Padres. Nothing across for the Dodgers. Kershaw into the windup, left-handed deals, fastball inside, and we're underway. DeNorfia, first ball hitting, grounded to short in the first inning. The 1-0 pitch on the way is taken low and inside, ball 2. 2-0 the count. Kershaw looking to Fedorovich. Now the 2-0 pitch on the way, and that's in there. 2-1 to Chris DeNorfia, who has completely changed. He was once almost an automatic out. Now he has really worn the Dodgers out. He holds back and takes a little high, and the count runs 3-1. Kershaw made 29 pitches in the first 2 innings, and gave up a 2-out single to Guzman, a throwing error by Ramirez, and a single by Grandal for the run. Now he opens up the third by walking DeNorfia. If you're interested in the National League vote leaders for the All-Star game coming up, it's Joey Votto at first base. Then you have Brandon Phillips, Troy Tulowitzki, and Pablo Sandoval on the infield. Ryan Braun, Bryce Harper, Justin Upton in the outfield, Buster Posey behind the plate. But of course it's still pretty early. Adrian Gonzalez not really in the running right now. He is 4th as far as first basemen are concerned. Now you have DeNorfia at first and Cabrera at the plate. A terrific bunter. He takes a strike and the count 0-1. Cabrera in last night's game twice bunted for base hits. Padres have 8 bunt singles this year. And Cabrera always a chance to lay one down. Especially Gonzalez occupied holding the runner DeNorfia. At third, Uribe well in on the grass. And the strike 1 pitch coming up. Full swing foul ball outside of third. And the count 0-2 to Everett Cabrera. So DeNorfia with the walk back to first base. Bud Black will take his club to Colorado. I'm sure he's not aware of it, but Carlos Gonzalez of the Rockies against Cincinnati has 3 home runs tonight. Cargo, and it's heavy duty cargo tonight. Colorado pounded Cincinnati 12-4. Here's the strike 2 pitch to Cabrera. Everett takes high, ball 1. Not only did Gonzalez have 3 home runs and drive in 6, Troy Tulowitzki had 2 home runs, had 5 hits. Tulowitzki is now hitting a cool .349. One ball and 2 strikes they count to Everett Cabrera. DeNorfia at first draws the throw and gets back. Chris doesn't do a lot of running, but when he does go, he's been very successful. He's 6 for 6. So DeNorfia held on by Gonzalez. Third inning, 1-0 Padres. Kershaw, both arms extended over his head, now set and deals. It's poked foul into the crowd to the right of home plate. Everett protecting with 2 strikes. Pitch might have been outside. In fact, he checks with Tim Timmons. Was it a ball? And Timmons apparently, from Cabrera's reaction, said yes, it was outside. And Cabrera made one of those old darn it looks. 1-2 the count. Padres lead 1-0 third inning. Another look at DeNorfia, throw over there. Chris diving back. Everett Cabrera, the switch hitter, has not grounded into a double play. Neither left or right-handed. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Out of a stretch goes Clayton Kershaw. Now comes back to the plate, and it's sliced over the head of Adrian Gonzalez, but it goes foul down the right field line. So DeNorfia goes back to first. 1-2 the count. For the Dodgers, in trying to bail out Kershaw a little bit. They have turned 46 double plays. The Padres, who obviously have allowed more base runners, they've turned 49. 1-2 the count. Kershaw gingerly scraping at the dirt around the rubber, now plants the left foot. Cabrera outside the box, now checks in right-handed, and we have a 1-2 count. Kershaw ready to make his 40th pitch here in the third inning. Clayton ready and deals, and he's off the plate, and that runs the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cabrera has walked 28 times and has struck out 44. Everett at 5-10. On deck, Chase Headley led a line drive single to left in the first inning. So here comes the 41st pitch by Clayton Kershaw. 2-2 to Cabrera, and it's a hopper into right field, base hit. Stopping at second is Denorfia. He will not test Puig's arm. Padres have known all about that. So Cabrera hangs tough, singles to right. And Kershaw's in some trouble. Breaking ball, and Cabrera just went down and got it and slapped it into right field. Nice bit of hitting. First and second, nobody out. Chase Headley coming up. Headley, who's been in that terrible slump, but singled sharply to left field in the first inning. So Chase up there with 2 on, nobody out. Padres leading 1-0. Kershaw's first pitch, and that's a little low. Ball 1. 1-0. Headley was 7 for 40, so now he's 8 for 41. A little more than 200 against Clayton Kershaw. Clayton will look back at Denorfia. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Left-handed delivers, and that's low, and he's behind to Headley now. 2 balls and no strikes. Kershaw with that earned run average of 1.85 coming in, and he surrendered a run in the second inning and in a little trouble right now. First and second, nobody out. Last time Clayton pitched was in Colorado. He gave up 3 runs in 7 innings and had a no decision. Clayton ready, a look back at second. The 2-0 pitch. Headley hits a fly ball to right. Puig is there, one-hands it, guns it, and on his way to third with a perfect throw, but just getting in there is Denorfia. So Puig made a 1-hop strike to Juan Uribe, and Denorfia, who runs well, tagged and was able to advance. But again, another wonderful throw right on the money. If anything, Uribe caught it behind the bag, so he was giving Denorfia the bag, and that was the difference. Juan in foul ground, so it was a perfect throw. Instead, on that base hit by Headley, first and third now, 1 out, and Quinton at the plate. So Denorfia walk, Cabrera single, Headley a fly ball deep enough to right to advance the runner. They're going to throw to second, hoping that he had left too soon. Second base umpire Mark Wegner says no, legitimate. So Denorfia talking to Uribe, I'm sure about Puig's throw. I mean, it was right on the money. So first and third, 1 away. Carlos Quinton, he popped up in the first inning. Kershaw in some trouble, comes to the plate, fouled away. Low fastball at 93. 0-1 the count to Carlos. Quinton had Tommy John surgery when he was playing ball at Stanford, which reminds me of left-hander Scott Elbert of the Dodgers. The Dodgers made the announcement that Elbert, who's been hurting all year, will have to have Tommy John surgery. Here's the strike 1 pitch to Carlos Quinton, and that's taken inside under the hands. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kershaw now ready to make his 47th pitch, so he's laboring a little bit. DeNorfia is at third. Cabrera at first. 1 out. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kershaw from a stretch checks his runners, especially Cabrera. Pitch at the plate, waved at and missed. 1-2. Kershaw took a lot off that. Remember, Cabrera leads the National League in stolen bases with 24. Kershaw has a good move, has done very well in controlling stolen bases, but he also has a runner at third, DeNorfia, and 1 out, and a very good hitter at the plate. Clinton with a half a dozen home runs, 18 runs batted in. 1-0 San Diego, and they're looking for more. Kershaw out of his stretch. The runner's at the corners. He looks at Cabrera, and the pitch at the plate pulled foul outside of third and down the line. So Carlos Quentin cracked the bat. He'll have to get another. 1-2 the count. 1 run, 4 hits for the Padres. And they also have a walk. Jason Marquis, the veteran, who is 7-4 and has won his last 5 straight. And he's leading 1-0, sitting behind Will Venable. 1-2 the count. Kershaw trying to fight his way out of a jam. Quentin, right-hand batter, waiting. There goes Cabrera, and the ball is hit in the air to center. The catch by Ethier, tagging up to score as the throw back to first is in time to double up Cabrera. No run. So Andre Ethier doubles up Cabrera, who was going and couldn't get back. And the Padres waste the runner at third, but they still lead 1-0. Of the third inning. Tough play for the Padres. DeNorfia tagging up. Cabrera on the run on the fly ball. And Cabrera is doubled up at first before DeNorfia can get home. And the Padres lose a run. They're still leading 1-0. Bud Black and Glenn Hoffman looking on now as Juan Uribe opens up with a high fly ball to left field and deep. Quentin on the track at the wall and makes the catch for the out. So Uribe, a long fly ball for the out, 1 down. Bottom of the third, still 1-0 favor of San Diego. So Jason Marquis, who has given up 11 home runs this year, probably worried about that fly ball. However, it is not warm. It's very comfortable. It was 69 when the game started. I'm sure it's cooler and a little damper. And let's say on a warm Sunday afternoon, that might have been a home run, but not tonight under these conditions. So with 1 away, The batter is Tim Fedorovich. He takes in the dirt. Ball one. 1-0. Fedorovich with 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. Marquis from a stretch comes back to the young Dodger catcher, gets a strike. 1-1. Padres trying to avoid a sweep. They swept the Dodgers in April of this year. The Dodgers swept them here in April of last year. The next pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-2 to Fedorovich. Marquis, both feet on the rubber, then just turns, holds the ball at the belt, and comes to the hitter 1-2, and he's in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Fedorovich with 1 out here in the 3rd inning. 7 in a row retired by Marquis. He has Kershaw on deck. 2 balls hit in the air. 1 the long fly ball, and the other the line drive. Marquis comes back 2-2. Fedorovich tied up and is called out on strikes. Second strikeout for Marquis. 2 out. Kershaw coming up. A reminder, be sure to bring the kids to Dodger Stadium Sunday. First 15,000 ticketed children 14 and under in attendance take home their own compression sleeve, just like the players wear. Compliments of Wetzel's Pretzels. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So here's Kershaw. Pretty good hitter, as you know. Left-hand batter. Takes low, ball 1. Clayton has 7 hits, including that dramatic home run against the Giants, and 3 runs batted in. The 1-0 pitch on the way. That's low, ball 2. On deck, Yasiel Puig. 2 balls and no strikes. Puig grounded out in the 1st inning. Kershaw trying to get aboard with 2 out. Takes a look at a strike. And the count 2-1. One run, 4 hits for the Padres. No runs, no hits for the Dodgers. The next one outside. So Kershaw, a 3-1 count, trying to get aboard and let Puig have another shot at Jason Marquis. 3-1 pitch to Kershaw is taken for a strike. 3-2 the count. Though Marquis cutting it very close. Jason heaves a sigh, now goes to the stretch, and the 3-2 pitch fouled away. In studying Marquis' work, he's been fighting it. He came in 36 walks and 40 strikeouts. That is fighting it. 3-2 to Clayton Kershaw. And the next one, strike 3 called on the outside corner. So Puig will be leading off the 4th inning. And at the end of 3, Padres 1, Dodgers 0. Time now for our Twitter poll question. Tomorrow is the baseball draft, and what do you think the Dodgers will emphasize most in tomorrow's draft? Pitching or hitting? Tweet hashtag LA Draft and then either pitching or hitting, and stay tuned to see the results. Stay tuned to see the results of what's shaping up to be a tough ball game. 1-0 favor the Padres. Maybe the Dodgers won game 1 of the series 2-1. Jerko, Blanks, and Guzman against Clayton Kershaw. Fastball misses. Jerko flied to right in the second inning. Big swing. 1-1 to Jed. Boy, he has been a find for the Padres. Remember when the season began, Chase Headley was hurt and he played third, but everybody knew when Headley came back he'd play second, and now he lifts one to left field and deep. Van Slyke watching, and it goes into the Dodger bullpen, and Jerko lifts it and hits it out, his 7th home run of the year, and the Padres take a 2-0 lead. For Clayton Kershaw, that would be the 5th home run that he has allowed this year. So Jerko, a home run to left, 2-0 San Diego. Jerko got a fastball about belt high out over the plate, and he certainly knew what to do with it. Over the gate and bouncing into the pen. So now the batter is Kyle Blanks, and he takes low, ball 1. Jerko has just hit the 52nd home run for San Diego. Dodgers have hit 43. Foul back, 1-1. Of course, last night was a slugfest. We had 6 home runs in last night's game, and game 1 we had 5 double plays. Last night Puig hit 2, Fedorovich hit 1. For the Padres, DeNorfia, Quinton, and Blanks homered last night. In game 1, Van Slyke homered. 2-1 pitch. Kyle Blanks called out on strikes in the second inning. Kershaw has struck out 3. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Padres. The Dodgers, no runs, no hits as we go to the 4th. Well, that was either a curveball that didn't curve, and I think that's what it was supposed to be. It got up there at 72. It just didn't have anything on it. 3-2. Fastball hit wide of third to Uribe. Big Blanks hustling down the line, 1 away. They're in the 7th inning in St. Louis. Arizona leading the Cardinals 3-1. Wade Miley, who could face Kershaw here Monday night, is leading 3-1. Last night, Paul Goldschmidt's RBI in the 14th inning won it for the D-backs. So remember, after the 4 with Atlanta, Arizona will be here June 10, 11, and 12. Ball 1. Jesus Guzman hit a slow roller to short. Ramirez scooped on the dead run, trying to throw on the dead run. He bounced it by Gonzalez, so that allowed Guzman to get to second. And when Grandal got a base hit to right field, Puig could not handle the ball cleanly to make a good throw, and the run scored. Now the home run by Jerko, and the Padres are out in front 2-0. Fastball makes it 2-1. Arizona and the Cardinals in that battle tonight. Cardinals trying to win their 39th. They lead the Central. Arizona trying to win their 34th. They lead the West. High fly ball to left center. Ethier going back to the track just about. Makes a catch. So Guzman a fly ball to center. 2 down. Yasmani Grandal, the catcher, who singled to right. coming up. When the Dodgers bat in the bottom of the 4th inning, they will have Puig, Schumacher, and Gonzalez. Puig is 0 for 1. Kershaw's first pitch jammed him, fouled away. 0-1 the count. With all of the excitement about Yasiel Puig, and there should be a lot of excitement, you can also wonder about somebody else who really broke in with a bang, and then sadly what happened to him. Strike one pitch in there. Did you ever hear the name Dino Restelli? If you do remember that name, you have a few years on you. 0-2. And gets him. So down goes Grandal. He out recorded at first. We'll tell you a little bit about Dino Restelli. At the end of 3.5 innings, it's now Padres 2, Dodgers 0. Southern California Kia retailers. Visit mysocalkia.com. By Time Warner, enjoy all the things you love better. 1-855-WANT-TWC. And by CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. 2-0 in favor of the Padres. Bottom of the 4th inning. Puig, Schumacher, and Gonzalez in that order. Puig, as you may or may not know, last night the second Dodger ever to have 2 home runs and 5 RBIs as a leadoff hitter. Tommy Brown did it way back in 1950. So here's Puig, then Schumacher and Gonzalez, and we'll tell you in between about Dino Restelli. Foul ball. Dino Restelli served in the service in the South Pacific during the war. Finally came back, played for the San Francisco Seals, and was called up in the middle of June by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hit number 3 in the lineup in front of Ralph Kiner. 0-1. 0-2. In his second game playing for Pittsburgh against the Braves, the Boston Braves, Dino Restelli had 2 home runs against Warren Spahn at Forbes Field and drove in 5 runs. A reminder of Puig. A little dribbler down to get it quickly. Marquis and throws him out. What can happen to a man, however, Restelli had that tremendous start. You know, he started June the 15th. By the time he ended June, he had hit 7 home runs and in 15 games knocked in 16. And Dino was hitting .356. The home runs that he hit, 2 against Spahn, 2 against Robin Roberts, He had him against Ralph Branca, Kurt Simmons, Larry Jansen. But 2 years from his debut, he played his final game. So that's how tough it is in the big leagues. And that's how you always have to use some caution, despite a tremendous start by any player at any time. Schumacher grounded out in the first inning. Two and 0 the count. Jason Marquis and the Padres, 2 runs, 5 hits. Dodgers, no runs, no hits, 1 error. That's in there. 2-1. Schumacher is so valuable, like Nick Punto. They do a good job no matter where they play. Sliced foul upstairs. 88-mile-an-hour fastball inside. 2-2. Adrian Gonzalez waiting on deck. Ground ball going over to get it. Jerko makes the play. So for Marquis, basically a ground ball pitcher, and that's what he's getting. He has also retired 11 in a row. There have been 2 balls hit in the air. Ramirez a line drive at Headley, and Uribe a long fly ball to left, and that's it. Here's Adrian. He rolled out to Jerko in the first inning, batting .328. Gonzalez was hitting .259 with a home run against Marquis when he grounded out. 1 ball and no strikes. A little low. 2-0 the count. Tough ball game. The Dodgers have been in 15 games decided by 1 run. They're 6-9. Padres have been in 19 games decided by 1 run, and they're 11-8. 2-0. And Adrian hits it short hop, backhanded by Jerko that gets him. Oh, that was a big league play. So that's 12 in a row retired by Jason Marquis. And at the end of 4, 2-0, San Diego. With San Diego, then 4 with Atlanta, 3 with Arizona, Dodgers go on the road to Pittsburgh and New York, and then go down for a 4-game series to San Diego. After the game with Arizona on the 12th, the next Dodger game at home is on the 24th with the Giants. Jason Marquis, he's been perfect. Struck out 0 for 1. 0-2. Jason Marquis, in his 4 innings, made 51 pitches. Kershaw in his 4 innings made 65. That'll do it. So Marquis strikes out a second time, and we have 1 away. The doings in the Major League Baseball National League Western Division. There we are. Toronto shutting down the Giants 4-0. Colorado pounding Cincinnati thanks to Cargo and Tulowitzki. And Arizona, Paul Goldschmidt has broken that thing open with a grand slam. Boy, Goldschmidt has really come into his own. That big first baseman for Arizona, who was originally drafted by the Dodgers but opted to go to college. Wow. 0-2 the count to DeNorvia. 5 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. He bounced that thing about 3 feet in front of home plate. DeNorvia grounded to short, walked, tagged up on a fly ball to Ethier, but Cabrera was doubled up at first base, and DeNorvia was unable to score. However, the Padres took care of that by having a home run from Jerko. Bounced that one. So he's giving Fedorovich a workout. 2-2 the count. Clayton has also now made 72 pitches. Keep in mind, Jason Marquis has retired 12 in a row. Fastball fouled away. Clayton still throwing 93. So Marquis was close to giving up a hit, but Jerko bailed him out. Then there was the ball that Ethier hit off his glove. Cabrera made the play. And then there was Uribe's long fly ball to left for an out. That's strike 3 called. So DeNorvia becomes the 3rd consecutive strikeout for Kershaw. It gives Clayton a half a dozen. And the batter is Cabrera. Everett Cabrera struck out in the 1st inning, and a nice bit of hitting, single to right in the 3rd. Low breaking ball away, and he just went with it. Right. 0-1. We told you the Blue Jays were leading the Giants, beat them 4-0 behind the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey. Pitching for the Blue Jays, Dickey allowed only 2 hits into the 9th inning. He also had an RBI double against Barry Zito, who lost the game. One ball and 1 strike to Everett Cabrera. 2-0 Padres. We're in the 5th. Bouncer up the middle. No chance for Schumacher. So Cabrera comes up with his 2nd hit. And we'll have the battle within the WAR now, with a left-hand pitcher with a good move to first, and the Major League base stealer, Everett Cabrera. Cabrera 2 for 3. 2 runs, 6 hits for the Padres. Chase Headley single to left and fly to right. Very close. Of course, the good base stealers always make it close. Kershaw just staring at Cabrera. Misses inside, ball one. One ball and no strikes. Pretty good battle here, Kershaw and Cabrera. High fastball. One ball, one strike. That was 92. Kershaw now, his next pitch will be his 80th. One ball, one strike. Ball two, 2-1. So Kershaw very busy pitching to Headley and watching Cabrera. Clayton Kershaw in his career has allowed 41 stolen bases and 41 runners have been caught. He's also picked off 71. 40 of them were clean pickoffs. 31 more with the first baseman throwing down to second to complete the pickoff. 2-1. Now ball three. Kershaw walked Denorfia in the third inning. He has struck out 6. 3-1 the count to Headley, and Cabrera off the bag at first. That's in there. So Cabrera will be going with a full count and 2 down. Gonzalez will stay at the bag. Cabrera, very short lead. There he goes. Pitch is in the dirt. So ball 4 to Headley. That puts runners at first and second with 2 out in the 5th inning. Second walk issued by Clayton, who has struck out 6, and it brings up Carlos Quentin. Quentin has popped up, and in the 3rd inning, runners at first and third. Remember, Cabrera took off. Quentin hit a fly ball to Ethier, who threw back to Gonzalez and doubled up Cabrera, and Denorfia could not score. So Cabrera at second, which brings up another point about the Padres, what they do well. They have stolen third 5 times. And with a guy like Cabrera, you can't afford not to watch him. Quentin 0 for 2. And that slow breaking ball for a strike. 0-1 to Carlos. 2 runs, 6 hits for San Diego. No runs, no hits. 1 error for the Dodgers. Cabrera at second, Headley at first. 2 out. Bad ball, Quentin going after it. 0-2 the count. Carlos Quentin has only struck out 27 times. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out, 2-0 San Diego. In the dirt. Nice block by Fedorovic. Boy, Tim is really working overtime behind the plate. And now Kershaw wants to talk to him. Another pitch in the dirt. Another chest block. Fedorovic doing that nicely, keeping the play in front of him. And with a rabbit like Cabrera over at second base, it doesn't take much for him to be a third. 1-2 to Quentin. hit foul down the right field line. That was a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, so he was a little late getting on it. 1-2 to count. In the inning, Marquis struck out, Denorfia struck out, but Cabrera singled, Headley walked, and a 1-2 count to Carlos Quentin. Cabrera gone to third, and it's fouled away. Yes, indeed, they will try to steal third on him. Black has a very aggressive offensive team, whether going from first to third on a base hit, stealing third, scoring from second on a base hit. They do that very well. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Time. Okay, they hook up again. 1-2. Tough inning for Kershaw. This is his 24th pitch. And it's off speed, and Quentin way out in front of it. So Clayton winds up striking out the side. That gives him 7. Padres lead 2, but the Padres still lead 2. $50,000 fans in attendance receive a Don Sutton bobblehead. Compliments of Carl's Jr. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Clayton Kershaw labored 24 pitches, so he's now made 89. And Marquis gone to work. And a strike to Hanley Ramirez. Ramirez, who's making it a habit of hitting the ball hard for outs, hit a line drive speared by Chase Headley in the second inning. Foul ball. 0-2. Jason Marquis has retired everybody 12 in a row through 4 innings. The soon-to-be 35-year-old pitching a gem right now, leading 2-0. And remember, he came into the game having won 5 straight. He is 6-2 with the lead. Sinker, hard ground ball, but it's at somebody. Headley. Boy, Ramirez, I don't think he's made an easy out since coming back. one away. You know, Fox Sports proud to team with Feeding America, a nationwide network of food banks that helps feed more than 37 million people in America each year through pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. So visit feedingamerica.org/Fox Sports. Learn how you can fight hunger in your community. 13 in a row, and the batter is Andre Ethier. Ethier came close to getting a base hit, hit a comebacker off the glove of Marquis, and Cabrera made a good play to throw him out. Oh and 1. Sinker away. When Marquis was in high school, he pitched his high school team to 2 straight New York City championships. And the games, one championship he pitched in Shea Stadium and the other Yankee Stadium. Pretty high roll for a high schooler, huh? 2-1. And ball 3. And by the way, for the youngsters watching, Marquis was a member of the National Honor Society while in high school. Three and 1 to count. And that's high. So the Dodgers get their first base runner on a base on ball. And the batter will be Scott Van Slyke. Home runs by rookie. Well, Evan Gattis, who is a remarkable story. We'll tell you about that when the Braves get here. Then you have Jerko with 7, A.J. Pollock of Arizona with 5, and Scott Van Slyke with 5. Ethier at first, 1 away. Van Slyke struck out in the second inning. That's right. Scotty hitting .245, 5 home runs, 10 runs batted in. That's that sinker. No balls and 2 strikes. Marquis in his career, his best year, I guess, with the Cardinals. Back in 2004, he won 15. He also won 14 for the Cardinals, and he won 15 with the Rockies. 0-2. Slider, 1-2 the count. Another thing about Jason Marquis, you look at his career, he's won 56 games at home, 56 games on the road. Not finished there. Foul ball. He also at one stage won 56 games in the daytime and 56 games at night. One and 2 the count to Scott Van Slyke. 2-0 favors San Diego. Bottom of the 5th inning. Dodgers so far this year have been shut out 4 times, twice at home, twice on the road. A little low. 2-2. Marquis has made 64 pitches. Clayton Kershaw made 89 through his 5. Dodgers looking for their first hit with 1 out in the 5th inning. Fouled away. Andre Ethier, the only Dodger base runner, he reached on the walk with one out here in the 5th inning. Held on by Guzman. Fouled away. On deck, Juan Uribe, who fly to deep left field in the 3rd inning. There's that big 0 right in the middle of the line score. But it's awfully early to think about that. 5th inning. 2-2. Three and two. Scott Van Slyke has struck out 15 times. He's grounded into 3 double plays. He's only walked 4 times. So we'll see what that means with 1 out and Ethier at first. Ethier is going on ball 4. So back-to-back walks given up by Marquis with 1 out in the 5th inning. And you have Uribe and Fedorovich coming up. We told you that coming into the game, Marquis was fighting it. I mean, when you walk 36 and struck out 40, you're fighting it. Tonight he has struck out 3 and he has walked 2. Uribe, a long fly ball to left field. It was caught by Quentin right near the wall. Uribe 0 for 1. 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in. And a strike. Oh and 1 to count to Juan. First test really for Marquis with 1 out, back-to-back walks. Padres lead 2-0. Hard ground ball, fair ball off the glove of Headley into foul ground. Scoring is Ethier. Going to third is Van Slyke. But in looking at Laz Diaz, he's going to call everybody back. So back to second base goes Ethier. Over to third goes Van Slyke. Close ball right down the line. Headley diving just as the ball curled foul and off his glove. So Laz right there to call it. 0-2 to count to Juan Uribe. Runners back to their positions. 1 out. Fedorovich on deck. And that sinker that takes care of Uribe. That is the 4th strikeout for Jason Marquis to go along with 2 walks. And Tim Fedorovich coming up. Fedorovich struck out in the 3rd inning. So Tim 0 for 1. Hitting just under 200. 2 home runs. 5 runs batted in. And a chopper up the middle. Cabrera will just take it to the bag, and that'll be that. So no runs, no hits, 2 left, and at the end of 5, 2-0 San Diego. uniform number 24. That belonged to Walter Alston, who took over the club in 1954 and finally packed it in 1976. Would have been nice if he had lasted one more year. Then it would have been 24 years and 24 the number. But we can't have everything. He was a terrific guy, and he lived in a small town, Dartown, Ohio. The Dodgers won the World's Championship in 1955. I sent a Christmas card to Mr. and Mrs. Walter Alston, Dartown, Ohio. And would you believe it came back address unknown? I waved that at him for many, many years. He was a wonderful human being. Let's go back to this one. I remember him telling, when the Dodgers won the World's Championship in 1955, Walter Alston's father, a typical Ohio tight-lipped farmer, went to the closet, took out a shotgun, walked out on the porch, pointed the shotgun in the air, fired it once, and then went back and put that rifle back into the closet. And that was his celebration for his son's World Championship. And when Walter came home, he was greeted with his dad saying, "You know, son, the South 40 needs some work." They were a wonderful family, really typical American. Jerko flied to right and homered, 1-4-2, having a great rookie year. Lifts one out of play. Jason Marquis finally labored and made 21 pitches in the fifth inning. So his pitch count is up to 72. But so far, no hits. He's allowed 2 walks. Ball 3. Kershaw down 2-0. Struck out the side in the fifth inning. And that's a strike. His pitch count now, he's up to 94. Waiting on deck, Kyle Blanks. 3-2. Wow, overthrowing. Kershaw walking off the mound in frustration. That thing really got away. There's numbers so far: 95 pitches, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, half a dozen hits. The pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt, watching him very carefully, and Kershaw due to lead off in the 6th inning. So Jerko at first, and here's Kyle Blanks in the dirt. Kershaw spent a lot of time in the dirt tonight. So is Tim Federowicz. Jerko is 1 for 1 in stolen bases. 2 runs, 6 hits for the Padres. No runs, no hits for the Dodgers. Top of the 6th. 1-1 to Big Kyle. Blanks has played first base. They played him in left field. They played him in right field. And he's really developing into a fine player, hitting .271. One and one. Kershaw now getting close to 100 pitches. Blanks, for the last 2 weeks, has hit .317 with 10 runs batted in. Fastball missed. He's still throwing 93. 2-1 to count to Kyle. Jerko taking a short lead, held on by Gonzalez. 2-1 to Blanks. Fastball hit to the hole, smothered by Schumacher to get him, and on the play, Jerko to second. Nice play by Skip Schumacher to take a hit away from Blanks. So Skip makes the play, 1 out, and Jesus Guzman coming up. Good play by Skip. Nothing he can do about preventing Jerko to get to second, however. And with 1 out, Guzman and Grandal coming up. So Blanks has drawn blanks and goes 0 for 3. Ball 1. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 6th inning, they'll have Kershaw, then Puig, and then Schumacher. And if you've just joined us, Puig, 0 for 2, has grounded to third and hit back to the box. Schumacher, 0 for 2. Check swing for a strike. Guzman hit a slow ground ball to short. Ramirez charging, tried to get a good throw off, threw it in the dirt, went away for an error. That allowed Guzman to go to second, and he scored on Grandal's base hit. 1-1. They're going to check. No swing. Mike Winters at first. 2-1 the count. Guzman hitting .216. He has a home run and 8 runs batted in. Trying to pick up Jerko from second. Padres lead 2-0. 6th inning. And that's going to drop into right center, which means Jerko will score. It's finally cut off by Puig, and going to second just ahead of the throw is Guzman with a double. So 3-0 San Diego. So that figures that Kershaw will not answer the bell. You'd expect him to pinch hit. And Honeycutt on the phone. So Guzman's double cashes in Jerko. 3-0 on 7 hits for the Padres. Puig over to cut it off. Had no chance of getting Guzman at second. Grandal will be coming up in the Dodger bullpen. Peter Moylan begins to loosen up as Jerko sits back and cools off, having scored twice tonight. So Peter Moylan warming up. Padres checking Jerko. Like they were looking at his hand. So Guzman at second. 3-0 San Diego. Guzman 2 for 3, and Grandal 1 for 2 at the plate. Kershaw bounces that one. 1 ball and no strikes. Kershaw not particularly sharp, and of course that's a tribute to his abilities. The fact that he has struck out 7, but he's also allowed 7 hits, 3 runs, including a home run and a double. Beaten foul. One of the things about Clayton Kershaw, he has not been in charge. When a pitcher is in charge, he's aggressive, he's throwing strikes, and he's ahead of the hitters. But in checking Clayton tonight, his first pitch strike to only 12 of 26 hitters. And that's not the way he usually takes command of a game. 1-1. Crack bat, comebacker. Now they have Guzman hung up. Kershaw will give it to Schumacher, who gives it to Uribe, who I believe tagged him out. I think he tagged out Guzman. Let's wait and see. I think maybe they're saying that Uribe missed the tag, and so the Dodgers really mess up a rundown. But we won't get started on that. I've often said the biggest surprise and disappointment to me, how bad major leaguers are in running a so-called rundown play. Here's where I thought he tagged him. And it also, then of course he dropped the ball after, but everybody's safe. But what a mess they've made out of this play. So second and third with one out. Dodger infield has to play up, and the batter is Jason Marquis. Of course, I come out to the ballpark like everybody else. I can't remember watching a major league team practice a rundown before a game. No way. And then the game, and then it's the catch and jammer kids. 0-1 the count. Of course, the Dodgers worrying now about a squeeze play. Oh, and 1. And a slicing fly ball down the line, and it will land foul. So in the inning, it started with a walk to Jerko. Blanks got him to second on a ground ball. Good play by Schumacher. And then Guzman doubled to right center to score Jerko. Grandal hits a comebacker to Kershaw. And what the Dodgers do with the ball is a little embarrassing. So now second and third, one out. 0-2 the count to Marquis. Foul back. Marquis has struck out twice. He has 3 hits this year. They don't expect that he would try to squeeze with 2 strikes. On deck, Chris Denorfia. 0-2. Guzman is not coming. Full swing foul. So Jason's still there. He struck out in the second, struck out in the fifth. He has struck out 7 times this year. 3-0 San Diego in the 6th. Down the line, Guzman, Grandal away from second. 1-2. We always check with a runner at third, so we'll check with Kershaw. And he has 3 wild pitches. And he has bounced several tonight, putting extra heat on Fedorovich. 1-2. Little foul out of play. Kershaw now up to 112 pitches. Moylan is ready in the pen, and the Dodgers no doubt will hit for him in the bottom of the 6th inning. This is the 7th pitch to Jason Marquis. 1-2 the count. Chased a bad ball, strikes out. So Marquis strikes out a 3rd time, but as he walks away, small consolation. Through 5 innings, he hasn't allowed a hit. And now Denorfia with first base open. That's 8 strikeouts for Kershaw. Denorfia grounded to short, walked, and struck out. And let's see now, is Mattingly heading for the mound. Denorfia 0 for 2 tonight. So we'll see if Mattingly bringing a hook out. Nope, he'll leave him in, especially because he's due to lead off in the bottom of the 6th inning. If gloves could speak. Second and third, 2 out, a run over in the 6th inning. Padres scored in the 2nd, in the 4th, and in the 6th. They have Guzman at third, Grandal at second, and 2 out. DeNorfia has been absolutely dynamite with runners in scoring position. Chris takes a strike. He is hitting a cool .455 in this kind of a spot. On deck, Everett Cabrera. 0-1. In the dirt. 1-1. Big danger of a wild pitch, especially tonight with Clayton. So Kershaw getting some help from Tim Fedorovich. Guzman is still at third. Grandal is still at second. 2 out. One ball and 1 strike. Wow, that was ripped but foul. 1-2 to DeNorfia. Boy, he was busy. Chris hitting .299. Young man from Connecticut, the Nutmeg State. 3 home runs, 18 runs batted in. For Kershaw, this will be the 28th pitch in the inning, off speed. Now he's coming off a 24-pitch 5th inning. And look at that pitch count, up to 117. Kershaw's high in his career had been 125, but then this year against Washington, he had 132 pitches. That's his career high. And he wants to talk to Fedorovich again. Naturally, Fedorovich coming up from the minor leagues. Clayton is calling his own game. Hanley wants to know fastball or breaking ball. Second and third, 2 out, 1-2 the count. Poked foul. That was a fastball at 93. So there's still some gas in the tank. After 118 pitches, he still hits 93. But he's losing 3-0, and he's not out of the trouble. One and 2 to DeNorfia. Still 1-2. Kershaw has walked 3. He has struck out 8. But he has given up 3 runs and 7 hits. Big slow curveball got him looking. Oh, a big rainbow with a pot of gold to end the inning. 9 strikeouts for a weary Kershaw, who walks off losing 3-0. Remember the Twitter poll question? What do you think the Dodgers will emphasize most in tomorrow's draft, pitching or hitting? Overwhelmingly 4-1. 80% said they'll go for pitching. Meanwhile, the pitching tonight for the Dodgers, for Clayton Kershaw, leading to his troubles tonight, there were 28 foul balls, which really takes a lot out of a pitcher, indicating that a lot of swings but contact. It made him work extremely hard. He made 31 pitches in the sixth inning, 120 pitches in 6 innings. So Jerry Hairston is batting for him, and a strike. So Kershaw averaged 20 pitches an inning. Hairston hitting .258. Crack bat, foul ball. Hairston will have to get another stick. Dodgers so far tonight have had 2 base runners, back-to-back walks to Ethier and Van Slyke in the 5th inning. Well, Marquis started off in brilliant style, retired 13 in a row, walked 2, and then got the next 2. He worked reasonably hard, however, in the 5th inning when he made 21 pitches. 0-2 to Hairston. Jerry 0 for 5 as a pinch hitter this year. Fouled away. Padres scored a run in the 2nd, a run in the 4th, a run in the 6th. They had a home run by Jerko. A couple of base hits and an error for a run in the 2nd inning. And a walk and a 1-out double to pick up their 3rd run. Dodgers still looking for a hit. They have Hairston, Puig, and Schumacher. Time. Sinker. 1-2 to Jerry Hairston. Atlanta will be here starting tomorrow night. A 4-game series. Yasiel Puig waiting on deck, 0 for 2. One ball, 2 strikes. Did that nick him? He just did get out of the way of it. 2-2 the count. Jason has struck out 4 and walked 2. Fastball hit to the gap and right center. It is going to be caught. We had to wait for Mark Wegner, the second base umpire, to run out into the outfield to indicate safe or out. Big play by a big man, Kyle Blanks. So Wegner having to go out on a tough play, tough call. And look at there, showing that he had it all the way. Great play by Kyle Blanks. So Hairston loses a hit. 1 out in the 6th inning. The magic is still here for Marquis. And now here's Puig. Yasiel grounded to 3rd and hit back to the box. 0 for 2. Mike Brito scouted him. I think the first time Mike saw him was like 4 years ago. Followed him closely, carefully, and finally drew it all up with a tremendous rating in every area. The Dodgers signed him. And here he is. I remember asking Al Campanis when he was general manager, and Al was also a terrific scout, great judgment of talent. And we were talking one day, and I said to Al, who's the greatest player you ever saw? And Al said he was a Cuban. I said, you're kidding. You mean you're not talking about Mays or Aaron or Clemente? He said, no. He was a Cuban by the name of Martin DeHago. And I said, well, how come you didn't bring him to the big leagues? He said, because he was in the Army and they wouldn't let him come. That'll do it for Puig. 2 down. Martin DeHago. The other thing about Martin, according to Mike Brito, he was black, and had the Dodgers had the opportunity, Martin DeHago might have been the first black player and not Jackie Robinson. But then Mike Brito, who is a Cuban, said the problem is all of us from Cuba are hot-tempered. If DeHago ever got here, he wouldn't have lasted a month. Jackie Robinson, well, you know the story there. 2 outs, 6th inning. It's still 3-0 San Diego. More importantly right now, Marquis has still deprived the Dodgers of a hit. One and one. Great play by Kyle Blanks. Let's let it continue. 1 ball, 1 strike. Foul ball. Down in the photographer's well. 1-2 to count. Schumacher twice grounding to Jerko. Skip hitting .257. 10 runs batted in, no home run. Final score, Arizona pounded the Cardinals 10-3. It's a 4-game series with the Cardinals. D-backs have won 2 of the first 3. And remember, Arizona leading the division will be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, June 10, 11, and 12. 2-2 to Schumacher. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez. And ball 3. He has struck out 5, and Jason has walked 2 back-to-back in the 5th inning. Three and 2. And lifted to right center. On the track, watching it bounce, is Denorfia and Blanks. And it's a long double for Schumacher. Ball was hit high enough. You thought that somebody out there had a chance to catch it. I think Marquis looking out there as if to say, you sure you couldn't have caught that ball? Well, Denorfia, with a left-hand hitter, was shading to left center. And Blanks was straight away right, and Denorfia just couldn't catch up to it. So that is hit number 1, and it comes with 2 out in the 6th inning. A double for Skip Schumacher. Now the batter is Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez has grounded out twice. The second time, Jerko made a good play to take a hit away from him. Adrian with 42 runs batted in. Ball 1. The top 5 in RBIs, Paul Goldschmidt, who had a grand slam tonight, has 53. Tulowitzki 48. Brandon Phillips 45. Adrian 42. Dominic Brown 44. Foul ball. 1-1 to count. So Jason Marquis had a no-hitter saved on a diving catch by Blanks, and then loses the no-hitter on the fly ball double by Schumacher that lands in right center. Blanks really didn't have much of a play, and Denorfio was playing Schumacher in left center. He had too far to go. Line drive off the glove of Jerko into right field. Schumacher will score, and the Padre lead is 3-1. Ball was hit very hard, but we've certainly seen Jerko make that play, but he was unable to come up with it. Dodgers finally get on the scoreboard on the 91st pitch. One hopper right off the heel of the glove. So now the batter will be Hanley Ramirez. Still waiting for the scoring. They haven't done anything on the line score. We do know San Diego 3, Dodgers 1. Will go as a base hit, too hot to handle. Good call. Now Hanley. Strike. .43 runs batted in now for Adrian Gonzalez. We're only in the 6th. Hanley lined out to third and hit a bullet on the ground to Headley at third. Nice block and save by Grandal. 1-1. On deck, Andre Ethier. One ball and one strike. And line foul down the line. A pitch up and in, and Ramirez was all over it. Just a loud foul, 1-2. Jason Marquis ready to make his 95th pitch. His last game against Toronto, he made 109, and that would be his high for the year. Tim Stauffer gets up in the bullpen. 1-2. Ramirez still there. Hanley 0 for 2 tonight, but he's hit the ball so hard for the last couple of games. Andre Ethier 0 for 1 with a walk behind it. Adrian Gonzalez with a base hit and a run batted in. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Hanley Ramirez. Breaking ball got him. Good slider down and dirty. However, the Dodgers get one on 2 hits. Great catch by Blanks, but then the double and the single. The end of 6, 3-1 Padres. Skip Schumacher, as usual, coming up with a big play, and he turned it in on a ball hit by Blanks, taking a base hit away from him, smothering the ball and scrambling, getting up and throwing the big man out. So 3 runs, 7 hits for San Diego. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. It was also Schumacher who helped the Dodgers get their run. They were playing him not to pull Marquis, and he doubled to right center. So Peter Moylan, the Australian, comes in to pick up. Peter was born in Lesmurdy, Australia, lives in Vermont, Australia. He'll be 35 in December. Originally drafted by the Twins, pitched for a couple of years, and returned to Australia and became a pharmaceutical vials and drug packaging salesman. Then fooled around in amateur baseball for a while. And then all of a sudden found his fastball, turned to a pro, and here he is. Everett Cabrera turns around. He was 2 for 3 batting right-handed, hitting .283. Cabrera, Headley, and Quentin. 7th inning, 3-1 Padres. 1-1. Cabrera lifting that to right center. Very playable. Ethier is there. 1 out in the 7th inning, and the batter will be Chase Headley.
Third baseman, Chase Headley.
Headley single to left, fly to right, and walk. Big breaking ball for a strike. 0-1. Headley 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in. One and one. Peter Moylan, we were telling you, was a salesman. His father went to the United States for work. He watched an Astro game at the Astrodome, fell in love with baseball, encouraged Peter to give it a try, and he came up to the big leagues in 2006. Breaking ball, slow roller, Schumacher. 2 down. Now the batter will be Carlos Quentin. Carlos Quentin popped up, flied to center. That's when they doubled up Cabrera, who was running, trying to get back to first. And then last time up, Carlos struck out on a bad ball. 0 for 3. 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in. Peter Moylan's mother was a softball coach for a softball team, ladies softball team in Sydney, Australia. Line drive, base hit. So he went over to see his mom's team, and that's where he met his wife to be.
Second baseman, number 1.
So a 2-out single by Quentin. That'll bring up Jerko, who has a home run and a walk. Jerko came up leading off in the 4th inning in a tough ball game, 1-0, and he made it 2-0, hitting one in the Dodger bullpen. Padres lead 3-1 with 2 out here in the 7th. Big slider away. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 7th, they have Ethier, Van Slyke, and Uribe. 1 ball, 1 strike. Moylan, 2 fastballs, the slider and a changeup. Fastball, got that in there nicely at 91. Moylan 6'2", 200, working on Jerko. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jed Jerko out of West Virginia, hitting .275. He's had a wonderful first half. In the dirt, Fedorovich has been down there a lot tonight. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Padres lead by 2, 3-1. Jerko is followed by big Kyle Blanks. Got him. So Jerko strikes out. Padres leave Quinton, and we're heading for the bottom of the 7th inning. It'll be Ethier, Van Slyke, and Uribe. 3-1 Padres. Made a lot of pitches in 6 innings, 120. At that rate, he'd make 180 pitches in 9 innings. So there was no chance he would be around. Marquis, meanwhile, was very stingy. Finally allowed 2 hits and a run. And the 35-year-old in August goes to the mound, trying to hold on to a 3-1 lead. And he'll get Ethier, Van Slyke, and Uribe in that order. Andre grounded up the middle and walked. Ground ball was slowed down by Marquis, and Cabrera came over and threw him out. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Padres, 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Off speed, hit in the air to left. Quinton is there. So Ethier, a fly ball to left field, 1 away. Marquis coming with an off-speed pitch to Foolin. He's now getting close to 100 pitches. He's made 98. Van Slyke has struck out and walked, and they're backing him up in the bullpen. Tim Stauffer has been up earlier. Dale Thayer is up now with Stauffer. Van Slyke struck out and walked, 0 for 1. Ball 1. The last 2 innings, the 5th and the 6th, Marquis made 45 pitches. The first 4 innings, he really breathed. Off speed and a high fly ball to left. Back goes Quentin to the scoreboard. Gone. Van Slyke hits his sixth, and the Padre lead is 3-2. So Van Slyke has 6 home runs and 5 doubles and a couple of singles. Bud Black now tells his catcher, go out and talk to the pitcher. Consume a little time. Marquis now has made 100 pitches. They look off speed and just hung there. And Van Slyke, the towering fly ball that cleared the wall. No chance for Quentin. So 3 runs, 8 hits for the Padres, 2 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Bud is heading for the mound, so that will be all for Jason Marquis, KO'd by Van Slyke after going 6 1/3. He still goes out leading. Remember, he has a 5-game winning streak. Gave it a good shot. So Jason leaves, and we'll be back. Earned runs, struck out 6 while walking only 2, made that bad pitch to Van Slyke, and appears annoyed like any good competitor. He didn't want to come out of the game. Tim Stauffer will come in. Stauffer appeared in the first game, made 13 pitches, only worked the 8th inning, and gave up 1 hit. So the first game the Dodgers won 2-1. Last night the Dodgers won 9-7, and tonight the Padres lead 3-2. And here's Uribe for a strike. The paid attendance tonight, final game of the series, 40,040. 4-0-0-4-0. Fouled away. 0-2 to Uribe, fly deep to left and struck out. Scott Van Slyke hits his 6th home run, and the Dodgers now a buck short, 3-2. Ronald Belisario is up in the Dodger bullpen. That's in the dirt to Uribe. Fedorovich on deck. Tim Stauffer, 6'1", 220-pounder. He'll be, in fact, he just was 31. One thing Stauffer does, he really shuts down the running game. They just can't run on him. Got a great move to first. Two balls, 2 strikes. And Uribe chasing, and down he goes. So he strikes out a second time. 2 down, and Tim Fedorovich. Pitch off the plate and down. Fedorovich tonight struck out and hit into a force play. Marquis, along with Dave Roberts, taking in the game. He's still the pitcher of record, trying to win his 6th in a row. That's a strike. 0-1. Fedorovich with 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. Nick Punto is out on deck. Check swing. Did he? Yes, he did. Mike Winters, the first base umpire. 0-2 the count. And Punto swinging the weighted bat. 2 out. Stauffer, born in Portland, Maine, but lives in Saratoga Springs in New York. 1-2. At 6'1", he played basketball in high school, averaged 17 points and 10 rebounds. He was also on the golf and soccer teams. The Orioles drafted him, but he wanted to go to college, so he had a scholarship to the University of Richmond. He's working on his degree in political science. He signed with the Padres in 2003. So he's the longest tenured Padre on the roster. Sound like a cracked bat and a foul ball. So I think he'll have to get another bat. Yep. 2-2 to count. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen now has joined Ronald Belisario. A lot of different pitches with Tim Stauffer. He get the 2-seamer and the 4-seamer, then a curve, a cut fastball, a change. He also has a knuckle curve. 3-2. His fastball will go anywhere from 87 to 93. 3-2. Ground ball to the hole, base hit into right field. So Fedorovich goes 1 for 3 with a single to right. Dodgers have the tying run aboard now, and Punto will be coming up to bat for Moylan. Another look at Fedorovich going down to get it. So Fedorovich at first. Nick Punto is hitting .298. Switch hitter will bat left-handed where he's hitting .259. Punto as a pinch hitter is 1 for 8. And the one hit came as a left-hand batter. Fedorovich held on by Guzman. 3-2 San Diego. That's a strike. Told you the Dodgers are 6-9 in one-run games, and the Padres are 11-8. And waiting on deck, Yasiel Puig, who is 0 for 3 tonight. Oh and 1. 1 ball and 1 strike to Nick Punto. Nick at 5'9", about 190. Shrinks that strike zone a little bit. Reading Tim Wallach. Bends at the knees and waist. 1-1. A good bunt but foul. Good idea. 1-2. Headley was back. Guzman was holding the runner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ground foul. The Atlanta Braves will be coming in. The division leading Atlanta Braves. They had a 1-hitter today. Tomorrow night, Zach Greinke will go against Tom Hudson. Friday, Ryu and Mahalam. Saturday, Stephen Fife and Chris Medlin. And then Sunday, Ted Lilly and Mike Minor. 1-2. Foul back. Padres scored a run in the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th. The Dodgers have scored in the 6th and the 7th. 3-2 Padres. Jerko with a home run and a walk, so he scored twice. Dodger run. Schumacher doubled with 2 out, and Gonzalez singled off Jerko's glove. Little ground foul. One and 2 to Nick Punto. Interesting that Punto was born in San Diego, lives in Mission Viejo, went to Saddleback Junior College. One ball, 2 strikes. And he holds up. 2-2. Punto went to Trabuco High School. That's about 10 miles from Aliso Miguel High School, where Schumacher went to school. So deuce it wild again. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. 3-2 San Diego in the 7th. Fedorovich, short lead. And down goes Punto. 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Marquis is still alive to be the winning pitcher, but the Dodgers get close with Van Slyke's home run. Through 5 2/3 innings, then gave up a double to Schumacher and a single by Gonzalez for a run. Jed Jerko, the second baseman, homered leading off the 4th, walked and scored a 2nd run, and Skip Schumacher extended his hitting streak with his double in the 6th inning to 12. Meanwhile, Scott Van Slyke hit his 6th home run of the year to get the Dodgers close. And we go to the 8th inning, 3-2 San Diego. Nick Punto, who batted for Moylan, stays in the game at third base. So if you're keeping score, put Ronald Belisario in your rebase spot. For the Padres, it'll be Blanks, Guzman, and Gandol. And when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th, it will be Puig, Schumacher, and Gonzalez. Kyle Blanks has struck out, grounded to third, robbed of a hit by Schumacher in the 6th inning. Kyle also made a diving catch of the ball hit by Jerry Hairston in the 6th inning to hold on to the no-hitter for a little while longer. 0-1. Blanks 4 home runs, 16 runs batted in, hitting .268 in the dirt. Blanks 0 for 3, Guzman 2 for 3, and Grandal 1 for 3, the way the Padres stack up. Paco Rodriguez now throwing in the Dodger bullpen. High fly ball, very playable. Van Slyke is calling. 1 away. And the batter will be Guzman. The internship, that opens this Friday. And in tonight's postgame, our intern gets a crash course in production. Guzman hit a slow roller to short, big play. Ramirez charged, picked it up, threw off balance, threw it in the dirt. It got away from Gonzalez. Guzman went to second, and Grandal single to right, scored him. Now he has a line drive base hit to left. So Guzman 3 for 4 tonight with that base hit, and it'll bring up Yasmani Grandal. We'll have a pinch runner. Will Venable will take over for Guzman as a runner. So a little heat on Belisario and Fedorovich. Will Venable has stolen 8 bases. He has stolen 8 of 11. So the veteran right fielder. And now let's see. You have the switch hitting Grandal. We'll see if Mattingly turns him around and brings in Paco. Mark Kotze comes out on deck. So we'll see what develops. There's Mark. So Belisario will give way. Paco Rodriguez down there in the bullpen. Grandal is due up and will be back. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by Farmer Boys. Get an award-winning Farmer's Burger topped with farm-fresh veggies, cheese, bacon, and avocado. By AT&T, rethink possible. And by El Pollo Loco, crazy you can taste. Good ball game, 3-2 San Diego. The Dodgers go to the pen for their fourth pitcher, Paco Rodriguez. What that does will turn Grandal around, the switch-hitting catcher. Of course, it really doesn't make much difference on paper. Grandal was suspended for 50 games, is only playing in his 7th game, and he's hitting .083 left-handed and .083 right-handed. Tonight, he singled against Kershaw in the 2nd inning, and he'll hit for bat right-handed against Paco Rodriguez. On deck is Mark Kotsay to bat for Tim Stauffer. So Yasmani has his average now up to 111. Venable at first. The other thing about bringing in a left-hander, of course, you expect him to keep a very good eye on Venable. And ball 1. 3 runs, 9 hits for the Padres. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 out in the 8th. Kershaw, Moylan, Belisario, and Rodriguez. Marquis and Stauffer for the Padres. So you're called in to pitch. Keep an eye on a runner in a tough 3-2 game. One and one. Paco, 6'3", 220. Just starting out. 22 years old. He was drafted by the Dodgers last year out of the University of Florida. Fastball, cutter, slider, change. 1-1 to Grandal. Little slider, they check, no swing. 2-1. Now we'll see whether they want to play hit and run. 2-1 with 1 out. We'll watch Venable. Paco off the rubber. To repeat, Venable has stolen 8 out of 11. He goes. Hit and run, foul ball. 2-2 the count. So Bud Black, with the manager's count of 2-1, puts hit and run on. Venable, good base runner. He's stolen as many as 29 in his career. One out, 8th inning, 3-2 Padres. Venable draws yet another throw, and look at Adrian trying to con Venable as if the ball got away. Nice try. There you go. Look at him peeking over his shoulder. Venable wouldn't go for it. 2-2. There he goes on ball 3. The throw late on a hop. So Venable now has stolen 9 out of 12. They get him into scoring position one way or another. 3-2 the count to Grandal and Coetzee waiting. Three and two. Slow breaking ball missed. The Grandal draws a walk. First and second, and here comes Coetzee, the veteran. Mark Coetzee hitting .268. He is 6'4", 20. Little breaking ball, but a little high. So Coetzee, 6 for 20. That would be 3 for 10, 300. 2 on, 1 out. Coetzee, 4 runs batted in. Oh, and 1. Mark Coetzee was born in Whittier, lives in San Diego. He went to school at Cal State Fullerton. He's the son of a retired motorcycle patrolman for the LAPD. 0-1. 1-1. So in the inning, blank fly to left. Guzman single. Venable ran for him and stole second. Grandal walked. Coetzee with DeNorfia on deck. Coetzee was a first-round pick by the Marlins way back in 1996 out of Cal State Fullerton. He's a career 300 hitter as a pinch hitter. 1-1. And as far as piling up pinch hits, he's third behind Seth Smith and Nate Shearholtz. Mark will be 38 in December. 1-1. Little slider missing. 2-1 the count. So Paco pitching very carefully to Grandal, walked him, and now he's 2-1 to Coetzee. And again, the Dodgers have to keep an eye on Venable. Ground foul, 2-2. Coetzee in the so-called salad days about 11 years ago hit 17 home runs for the Padres. Had as many as 82 runs batted in. From the Marlins to the Padres to the Oakland A's to the Braves, Red Sox, White Sox, Brewers, and back to the Padres. 2-2. Breaking ball got him. He bailed on it, and that slow breaking ball was in there. Strike 3. The Coetzee fooled, backing off, and the breaking ball was in there. So 2 down, and now DeNorfia. DeNorfia grounded to short, walked, and struck out twice. He has put up solid numbers for the Padres, and now 2 on, 2 out, trying to make another contribution. 0-1. DeNorfia hitting .319 against left-handers this year. In fact, since 2011, he's hitting about .330 against left-handers. Over that same stretch, tied for the most hits with Carlos Gonzalez. Cargo had 3 home runs tonight in a Colorado win. 0-1 to Chris DeNorfia. 0 for 3, hitting .297. Breaking ball. So Paco is out in front, 0-2. When the Dodgers bat in the bottom of the 8th, Puig, Schumacher, and Gonzalez. 0-2. Fastball fouled at the plate. Well, Denorfia is still there, 0-2. Denorfia, a veteran. He'll be 33, middle of July. In the dirt, 1-2 the count. Chris was originally drafted by the Reds. Came up to the Reds 8 years ago. Then went over to the A's and has been with the Padres for the last 3 years. One and two the count. Two and two. So Venable at second, Grandal at first. Handful of deuces, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. 3-2 San Diego. Ground ball to third. Punto down to Schumacher. That's that. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. Dodgers coming up in the bottom of the 8th. Puig, Schumacher, and Gonzalez. Padres lead 3-2. Padres trying to hold on to a 3-2 lead. Will Venable will take over in center field. Chris Denorfia, who had been in center, goes to right. Kyle Blanks, who had been in right field, takes over at first base. And on the mound, Dale Thayer will become the third pitcher for San Diego. Thayer 0-2. With a good ERA under 3. Dale from Fountain Valley and lives in Huntington Beach. He went to Cal State Chico. He'll be 33 in December. Signed by the Padres back in 2002, but came up with the Rays. Stayed with the Rays until 2 years ago he went to the Mets, and then the Padres in 2012. Attended Edison High School before going to Cal State Chico. And Puig takes ball one. Yasiel grounded to third, hit back to the box, and struck out. Whoa. Good fastball, aggressive swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. I think he's fighting a smile. He really tried to attack that thing. Whoa. A little high with a pitch. 2-1 to count. Dale Thayer has allowed 3 home runs. Two and one to Puig. 2-2. One thing he has done most of the time when he swings, he's made contact, fouling it off, etc. Two and two. And strike 3 called. So Puig goes 0 for 4, strikes out twice, and we have 1 out in the 8th inning. 9 Dodgers have struck out, so Puig has plenty of company. One thing, that would be an arguable pitch. However, Mike Brito had said to him, one of the things I want you to do is be nice. Don't argue with the umpire. Don't turn and look at him. Even if you don't think it's a strike, just walk away. And I think many a player might have argued, but he decided to walk away. 0-1 to Schumacher. He's 1 for 3. And hits one at the shortstop, Cabrera. So we have 2 out in the 8th inning, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Ball was not hit that hard. Cabrera at 5'10", still had a reach for it. Adrian grounded to second. The next time he grounded to second, it was a good play by Jerko. And then the third time he grounded to second, he almost took Jerko's glove off with a base hit to get a run batted in. So he's been playing pepper with the San Diego second baseman. A very disappointed Puig, but it's all part of it. 1 ball and no strikes. 2-0. Adrian followed by Hanley Ramirez. 3 runs, 9 hits for the Padres, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Luke Gregerson and Joe Thatcher, the left-hander, throwing in the San Diego bullpen. And a high fly ball into right center, but it appears playable, and there's Venable making the catch. So down go the Dodgers in the 8th, and we're heading for the 9th. Cabrera, Headley, and Quentin. 3-2 San Diego. Dodgers Live coming up after the game. Paco Rodriguez getting ready. He'll be pitching to Cabrera, Headley, and Quentin. If anybody gets on, Jerko. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the ninth, they'll have Ramirez, Ethier, and Van Slyke. With Thatcher, the veteran left-hander, in the pen, they could bring him in for Ethier. But from what we understand with San Diego, Gregerson has been pretty much the closer of late. Houston Street on the DL. Okay, here we go in the ninth. Ball one. Cabrera struck out, single to right, single to center, fly to center, 2 for 4. Hitting .282. Way out in front of that, 1-1. Don't forget Zach Greinke tomorrow night against Tim Hudson. Greinke's 2-1, Hudson 4-4. Then Hyun-Jin Ryu will pitch Friday night against Paul Maholm. 1-1. Two and 1 the count to Everett Cabrera. Dodgers have the corners up, Punto and Gonzalez. Cabrera, very good bunter. Big bouncer foul. 2-2. 40,040 here tonight. Hope you make your plans to spend certainly part of the weekend with us here in the ballpark. The Atlanta Braves. They picked up a victory today. They've won 34 games, leading the Giants by 2 games at the start of the day, and I think the Giants lost. They would be trailing by 3 now. Ground foul. Atlanta is 7 games in front of Washington, and the Braves will come here with a 5-game winning streak. Two and 2 to Everett Cabrera. Padres are 11-8 in 1-run games. Dodgers 6-9. Cabrera just seems to always get a little bit of the ball. Still 2-2. Off the plate, ball 3. Remember, Cabrera leads the league in stolen bases with 24. So if he gets aboard, that's a tough way to start the inning. Three and 2. Fouled away. Cabrera batting right-handed. Admittedly, he doesn't have that many at-bats. But even so, batting right-handed, he's only struck out 8 times. 3 runs, 9 hits for the Padres, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Three and 2. Curveball hit into left field, base hit. So Van Slyke gets it back in, and the pesky Cabrera comes up with his 3rd hit.
Third baseman, number 7, Chase Headley.
10 hits for the Padres. They had 7 hits against Kershaw. He struck out 9. Headley tonight, single, fly to right, walked and grounded out. The Padres, by the way, 10 hits, and they've had at least 1 hit in every inning. They had 2 hits in the second inning. J.P. Howell begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. Howell appeared in the 6th inning of last night's game. 1 ball and no strikes. So Cabrera with his 24 stolen bases talking to Dave Roberts. Headley at the plate, 1 ball and 1 strike. Cabrera short lead. Trying to increase it. And Paco, what he wants to do to see Paco's move, not the commercial one, but the best one he has, while still avoiding being picked off. A bluff. Paco had backed off the rubber. One ball and 1 strike to Chase Headley. 1-2. Headley with 2 hits in the series. Single in the first inning. And he had a base hit in the 6th inning of the first game. Cabrera inching a little bit more. Curveball off the plate. 2-2. So Paco came in the 8th inning to face Grandal. Got out of the inning. Cabrera taking a little bigger lead now. There he goes. And the pitch is low and there's no play. He just read Paco. He kept inching away, increased his lead, and there was no play. He got such a good jump. It's the art of being the big league base stealer. Fedorovich looked and no chance. 25 stolen bases now for Everett Cabrera, even against a left-hander. The Padres have now stolen 2 bases tonight. They've stolen 22 bases in the last 21 games. Foul ball. With 2 steals tonight, the Padres lead the major leagues. They have now stolen 50, led by Everett Cabrera's 25. Meanwhile, trouble at the plate because Headley has always hit well here at Dodger Stadium, a career .315 average. And ball 4. So now Paco's in trouble. He walks Headley following the base hit in the stolen base. Now Quentin, Jerko, and Blanks coming up. Quentin popped up, hit a fly ball to center, struck out, and in the 7th inning had a base hit. 2 on, nobody out. Dodgers have to worry now. Punto is coming to the mound. Punto and the Dodgers have to worry about Cabrera trying to steal third, among other things. Nobody out, first and second, top of the ninth, and the Padres leading 3-2. Quentin, 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in, and he's up there with 2 on, nobody out. Yeah, first thing is to keep an eye on Cabrera. Padres have stolen third base 5 times. You get so deep with Punto at third and off the line, it's like an open door for Bud Black. He'll turn his track team loose. 1 ball, no strikes. And ball 2. Waiting on deck, Jed Jerko, who has a home run and a walk. Did he? I think he did, yep. 2-1 the count to Carlos Quentin. Padres lead 3-2, 9th inning. This is the 9th meeting of the 19 scheduled, and they have split the previous 8. 2-0. And ball 3. Well, Quentin, a good hitter, a power hitter. He has Jerko back of him, and there's nothing to check the count now. We're looking at Timmons. They have it 3-0 on the board. It's 3-1. 3-2. Again, Timmons turning around. It shows 3-2. I think that's the count. Every now and then when Tim calls a pitch, he'll turn his right shoulder, and unless you're really watching, you don't see it. I think he's saying 2-2. Bud Black saying, wait a minute, I think the plate umpire's got the count wrong. The umpire kept gesturing. Now the Padres are all saying, no, it's 3-2. It's 3-2, Black says. So let's see. Timmons might, well, he has an indicator which normally keeps track of balls and strikes. Two there, 3-2. I think it's 3-2. Now here comes Don Mattingly. He wants to check the count. Okay, 3-2 we believe. Nobody out. And Quentin at the plate. And ball 4 after all of that. And the bases are loaded with nobody out. So Paco has walked 3. And Don Mattingly, I believe, is coming to get him. Jerko has flied to right, homered, walked, and struck out. The last we checked, J.P. Howell was throwing in the pen. And they're going to go to the left-hander against the right hand hitting Jerko. Paco comes out, and we'll be back. Out situation. Last night in the 6th inning, he came in and Cabrera bunted for a base hit, but he got Headley to hit into a double play. Now he faces Jerko with the bases loaded, nobody out. Punto and Gonzalez are up. Ramirez and Schumacher are back. And Jerko with a home run, 1 for 3. Jed batting .274 with 7 home runs, 22 runs batted in. Now the Dodgers change the formation, bring the infield up. And ball 1. So in the inning, Cabrera single to left, his 3rd hit. Stole 2nd. Headley walked. Then Quentin walked. And here is Jerko. Padres trying to add to a 3-2 lead. Cabrera, Headley, and Quentin all out on the line. Ball 2. Fedorovich telling Howell they're going to go over the signs again. And ball 3. So Rodriguez walked 2. Now Howell is on the edge of walking over the run. 3-0 to Jed Jerko, and Kyle Blanks on deck. In there. J.P. Howell, known at home as James Phillip, out of Modesto, lives up in Sacramento, went to the University of Texas. 3-1 to Jerko. And a high fly ball to center. That's deep enough to score Cabrera. The catch by Ethier, and Cabrera will come in. It is 4-2 San Diego. Boy, Jerko really hit that thing high to center field. So he's had a good night. He has scored twice, knocked in a couple. Cabrera comes home. 4 runs, 10 hits for the Padres, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. That run is charged to Rodriguez. Kyle Blank struck out, grounded out, robbed of a hit by Schumacher, fly to left, so 0 for 4. 1 out. Fastball missed. Clayton Kershaw went 6 innings tonight, allowed 3 runs and 7 hits, walked 3, struck out 9, made 120 pitches in his 6 innings. And the fastball misses. 2-0 the count to Kyle Blanks. Will Venable on deck. So it's been Kershaw, Moylan, Belisario, Rodriguez, and now Howell. And a base hit into left field. Headley is to third. They'll stop him, though the bases are loaded again. And the batter will be Will Venable. So Blanks a single left to load him up.
Batting next, center fielder, number 25, Will Venable.
Will Venable got into the game as a runner for Jesus Guzman after Guzman had singled. Guzman, by the way, had a good game. He had 3 hits. Venable stole second in the 8th, stayed in the game, and here he is with the bases loaded. Dodgers have to play the infield up again. 1 out. And a strike. Venable has done very well in his career with the bases loaded. One ball and 1 strike. When the game is over, the Padres will leave Los Angeles. They'll fly to Colorado. They open up a 4-game series. And the Dodgers will dig in for the arrival of the Atlanta Braves, who should be here. They should be resting, maybe even in bed by now. 1-1. And that's a base hit. So here comes Headley to score, and they'll just go station to station. And it's 5-2 in favor of San Diego. So Venable, a base hit to right. There's 4 hits in that spot and a run batted in. Blanks advances to second. Quentin goes to third. Headley brings in the run. That run is charged to Rodriguez. And here's Grandal, who has singled to right, struck out, reached on a fielder's choice and walked. Yasmani Grandal batting 111 with Quentin at third, Blanks at second, Venable at first. There have been 2 walks and 3 singles and 1 out. A mile-high fly ball to center. Fastball hit in the air to right center and deep. Ethier on his horse and makes the catch. Tagging up is Quentin. Tagging up is Blanks. So that makes it 6-2 San Diego. Quinton brings the run in. Big Blanks moves to third. Alexi Amarista will be coming up as a pinch hitter. So all 3 runs in the 9th inning are charged to Paco Rodriguez.
Attention, please.
Dodgers down 6-2, and Amarista coming up to hit for Thayer. Alexi Amarista, 5.7 and a solid 271 average. Two out here, 3 runs in, 6-2 San Diego. Ramirez, Ethier, and Van Slyke will be up in the 9th inning for the Dodgers. Padres have Venable at first, Blanks at third, and remember Venable stole second in the 8th inning. And ball 1. Alexi Amarista. 1 ball and no strikes. Two and 0. So it started with Cabrera. He singled a left and stole a base. Headley walked. Quinton walked to load the bases. That was all for Rodriguez. Howell has given up 2 sacrifice flies and 2 singles. 2 and 0. Six runs, 12 hits for San Diego. 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. And another fly ball. Ethier's coming over. Van Slyke is calling, but Van Slyke gives way, and Ethier makes the catch. So 8 men come to the plate. 3 come home to roost, and it's 6-2 San Diego. Tristan Orpheus started in center, moved to right, and now moves to left. Alexi Amarista, as a pinch hitter, stays in the game and plays center field, and Will Venable is in right field. Luke Gregerson, the veteran right-hander, who is now the closer pretty much with Houston Street sideline. Gregerson with a 3-2 record, but look at that earned run average, 1. Luke out of Park Ridge, Illinois, went to St. Xavier University, originally drafted by the Cardinals. He came up to the big leagues with the Padres in 2009 and has been with them ever since. Gregerson will be pitching to Ramirez, Ethier, and Van Slyke. On deck. And then the fourth hitter would be a batter for J.P. Howell. Ball one. Hanley lined at third, grounded hard to third, and struck out. That's a strike. And looking at Gregerson's numbers, he has walked 6 and struck out 19. So a little better than 3-1. One ball, one strike. Ground ball inside third down the line. So Ramirez, who has hit the ball so hard, finally finds a hole and doubles into the left field corner. So Andre Ethier coming up, and Ramirez, as usual, every ball he's hit in the last couple of days, right on the button. So Hanley at second, Ethier trying to pick him up. Ethier rolled up the middle off Marquis' glove, backed up by Cabrera. Then he walked and flied to left. It's been Marquis, Stauffer, Thayer, and now Gregerson. Marquis stands to win his 6th in a row. Ball one. 6 runs, 12 hits for San Diego. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Dodger 5 hits. They have a home run and 2 doubles. One and 0. 2-0. Nope, make that a strike. 1-1. Waiting on deck, Scott Van Slyke. And ground ball to first, gobbled up there by Blanks. Taking third is Ramirez, and the Dodgers give up an out. 1 away. That'll bring up Van Slyke. Struck out, walked, and homered. Van Slyke has never faced Gregerson before. Ramirez had been 0 for 4 against him since he doubled. Andre Ethier was 3 for 8 with a home run against him. Mark Ellis comes out on deck. He would bat for Howell. Big, slow curveball for a strike. Van Slyke hit his 6th home run of the year in the 7th inning to get the Dodgers close 3-2. That's a strike. 0-2. Breaking ball, kind of an awkward swing, but he got a little of it. When you're facing Gregerson, basically fastball and slider. Slider's probably his best pitch. There it is. So down goes Van Slyke, and the Dodgers down to their last out, and it'll be the pinch hitter, Mark Ellis. That's a nasty pitch. So Gregerson coming in to lock it up, and he needs one more turn of the key. Mark Ellis hitting .270. Ramirez at third, 2 out. 6-2 in favor of the Padres. That's a strike. Jed Jerko with a home run, a walk, and a sacrifice fly. Scored twice, knocked in 2. Had a big game. Atlanta here tomorrow night. Slider lifted to right field. Venable waiting, and that'll do it. For the Padres, they avoid a sweep. 6 runs, 12 hits, and no errors. For the Dodgers, 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error. Jason Marquis, the winner, has won 6 in a row. Kershaw, the loser. Stay tuned for Dodger Live coming up next. Good night, everybody.